I'm going to be talking about formula auditing in Excel today. So formula auditing in Excel is a really useful function that you'll find when you start using larger spreadsheets that have a lot more data in them, and a lot more formulas will grow in value to you. So in the corner of this PowerPoint here, there's a screenshot of what the formula auditing tab looks like and some of the functions that it displays. So trace precedence, what this will do is it will give you a visual display of any cells in your spreadsheet and precedence or other cells that are factoring into them. So what that means is that if you have a cell A1 that has some value in it, and then you put an equation in cell B1 that references that original cell, that A1, it will show you that there's a relationship there, and that cell A1 precedes whatever is being calculated in cell B1. Trace dependence is exactly the opposite. So if you have some formula or calculation in a cell, and then other cells will reference that original cell, it will show you that there's a relationship there. This will become more clear as I use an Excel sheet to show what these visualizations look like and to provide examples. So the way it actually demonstrates these relationships is by showing arrows between the cells. So this remove arrows function just allows you to remove them if you want a clean slate again. Show formulas is exactly what it sounds like. If you hit that, it will show you all the formulas on your spreadsheet instead of showing what the result is. And then error checking is an easy way to go through the errors in your spreadsheet and to fix them. So I have a special slide just for errors because they're pretty important and I wanted to highlight some of them. These are the most common ones that you'll run into. If you see a bunch of number symbols or hashtags, that essentially means that the column isn't wide enough to display whatever's in that cell. This is what it'll look like on the side. So an easy fix is just to make the column wider. This error name means that the text for a formula in a cell the program can't recognize. So for example, if you wanted to sum something but you wrote SU instead of SUM, you would get this error. Value means that the formula has a wrong argument. So if you're trying to add a numeric value with a text value, that's going to be a problem, and that's where you'll get the value error. Dividing by 0, that's what this error is. Of course you can't do that. So anytime you try to divide by 0 or divide by an empty cell, you'll get this error. The reference error, that's what REF stands for, is a little different. What this means is that a formula that was previously entered into a cell is referencing a cell that in all likelihood no longer exists. So that'll happen when you say you enter in cell C1 that you wanted to add cell D1 and D2 together, but then you delete column D. All of a sudden C is referencing a column that no longer exists. That's where you'll get the reference error. So to show what this looks like in Excel, I have a basic income statement here, and I'll go through and I'll show you each of these functions. It's located on the Formula tab. So here I have gross profit. If I want to show you the precedents that factor into this gross profit calculation, I can look at the formula bar, but I can also hit trace precedence. And this shows me that cells B2 and B3 were factored into this B4 calculation. Now, while you can look at the formula bar and it seems simple, if you're using a calculation that is especially complex and has 10 to 20 cells involved, it's much nicer to be able to see this visual relationship. At the bottom I have gross margin ratio. So as you may know, gross margin ratio is calculated by dividing gross profit by your sales revenue. So in this case you have two precedent relationships beforehand. So if I hit trace precedence, you can see that I have gross profit divided by sales revenue is 50%, but I still had this gross profit calculation come from somewhere. So that was from another calculation. So if I hit trace precedence again, now it's showing me that 50,000 was involved in that calculation. So I can see multiple levels of relationships. These are the arrows that I mentioned, and if I wanted to remove them, I can just hit remove arrows. Trace dependence is exactly the opposite. So if I have gross profit and I want to know what cells depend upon the value in B4, depend on this gross profit calculation, I can hit trace dependence, and I can see that operating earnings, gross margin ratio, and this error over here are all dependent upon the value in this cell. Show formulas shows me all the formulas. So normally these cells have values shown, but now I can see what cells were factored into these equations. If I hit it again, it will remove them. And then error checking. I have the errors that I showed previously off to the side here. So as you can see, this one, I'll go through them one more time, has a real value here, but it's showing me a bunch of number symbols. If I just make this column wider, now I can see the number. Name, this is because I have SU instead of SUM. Value, this is because I'm adding this cell, which has text, with this cell, which has numbers. That's going to give me a value because you can't do that. In this cell, I'm dividing B10, which is a numeric value, by B11, which has nothing in it. So that's dividing by 0. And how I got the reference, I'll just demonstrate this one. If I have 1500 in this column, and then I set this column to be equal to that cell, and then I delete E, so see it's equal to E6, and then I delete this column, all of a sudden I have a reference error here, because this cell no longer knows what it's referencing. Another easy way to go through errors is on the Formula Auditing tab. You can hit error checking, and in case you forget what the specifics are, this will actually tell you specifically what an error means. So in this case, it's saying that the name error says that the formula contains unrecognized text, and that's this SU error here. So I can go in and I can edit it right away. I can go over to SU, add the M, and now my error is fixed. This is also an easy way to scroll through all the errors on your worksheet. As you can see, I can go next or previous to look at all of the errors. If you simply want to ignore one, it'll get rid of the green arrow symbol in the corner right there, and you just hit ignore. Additionally, if you want more help, hitting help on this arrow will bring you to Excel's help page that will give you additional specifics on what problem you might be dealing with.